So, we have been traveling to the ETS and SBL. If you listen to our last show, show 101, show 101. If you listen to show 101, then you know exactly what we're talking about because we did our show from Atlanta with my father and Gary Springer, which was great. We had a fun time doing it. And so now we're back. What did you think of the ETS/SBL? And for those who might not know, the ETS is the Evangelical Theological Society, and the SBL is the Society of Biblical Literature. I forgot to turn my light on. Hang on just a sec.
Yeah, we need to see you better.
It was
amazing.
What did you think?
It was amazing. I mean, I don't know what to say, but from my perspective, just to give everybody a nuts and bolts, we met in Atlanta for 2 different conferences. The ETS, which is a faith-based conference. The E is for evangelical, but it has an S in it, which means society. And then we have the SBL, Society of Biblical Literature. So there's 2 conferences meeting back to back, and a lot of people attend both. But the SBL, the second conference in the row, is not faith-based. So we have one foot in one world for a while and then another foot in quite a different world. And throughout, we have different book and software, Bible studies, a type of companies that set up shop in a large convention hall. This year it was on 2 different floors, which was kind of inconvenient, but nevertheless, you have time to browse and go, and of course that's where the Accordance booth is, and Gary and Tim spend a lot of their time helping out, showing people how to use Accordance and helping sell Accordance. It was really great. But one of the things that was unique this year is not only did Tim Haig, president of Torah Resource, he presented both at the ETS and at SBL. I presented at SBL for the first time, so I came into it differently than the years before. I was really nervous about that.
But you did great.
You had a great experience, yeah. I've been Dr. David Marcus of Jewish Theological Seminary. He invited me to follow up in San Antonio to come give another paper already. So I'm really excited about that and praying about it. But and Caleb, I think you and I were at one particular paper where we were just really disappointed. Here we have, we think, oh, they're going to talk about the purity laws in the New Testament or Jesus and the purity laws. And it's like, or dietary laws, pardon me, I think was the one. And here we have people who have PhDs and we're just like going, where have these people been?
Yeah, exactly.
They're like,
have you done any research for this paper?
Yeah, it's almost like one guy presenting, he's a doctor. It's almost like he used like eSword or something, and he just pulled up some Bible verses and then he stitched them together and reiterated like the mainline angle on things, that the purity or I'm saying purity, but I should say dietary to be more specific. Dietary laws were done away in the New Testament, and that the issue at Galatians 2, where Peter was eating with Gentiles, was that Peter was eating ham.
Yeah.
Basically, that Peter was eating unclean animals in Galatians 2, and then when the people, bullies from Jerusalem came down, that Peter said, "Oh, I better stop eating ham while these Jewish guys are around." And I'm like pulling my hair out.
Yeah, Rob was not very happy.
Not literally. But anyway, so there were times where we were just really disappointed. But then there were times where we were like, wow, this was really good and different. So.
I thought the whole thing, even the papers I didn't like, I thought it was a complete blessing. It was just awesome. And it looks like next year in San Antonio we have several people at least coming from Torah Resource Institute.
I hope so.
So hopefully that will that should be pretty good. Pretty excited about all that. So, any specific papers that you thought were your favorite?
My favorite, but the very first paper I went to for the ETS, so it was the very first paper of all the sessions, so that would have been Tuesday morning, was on the Greek language. It was for Greek teachers of New Testament Greek, talking about verbal aspect versus tense. And it was packed room. I was in the back. I had to sit on the floor, basically squat down. Dr. Bill Mounts, whose textbook we use, was in the audience. He was the first to raise his hand, and there was some nice back and forth. So that got into some intricacies of the Greek language, but I left encouraged as a student of Greek, as one who's trying to facilitate Mounts' material and also to guide readings in our second year Greek. I was encouraged to persevere into the details of aspect and of the verb, and we're trying to integrate that into our discussions for second year Greek. So that was like it was cool to see such top minds in the audience there having that interaction with the paper. Mm-hmm. That's one that really sticks out. And another is, I saw one of the first papers I saw for SBL was on missional approach to reading the book of Deuteronomy. So in other words, seeing, and it's hard but basically looking at how the book of Deuteronomy has, with the feasts in Deuteronomy 16, inclusion of the marginalized, of the widow, the orphan, the Levite, the stranger in the gates, that they are critical. Bringing them into the worship and the celebration of the feasts of the Lord are critical to what they were saying is the vision that is in the book of Deuteronomy, the vision of this inclusion. And I was really blessed by that, and I took a lot of notes. Those are two that stick out. How about you, Caleb?
The one I saw on 1 Corinthians, what was it, 6:18, I think it was.
We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, we talked about that last. That was really good. I really enjoyed that. Actually, one of the ones that I really enjoyed as well was the one that you and I both went to on the last day on meals and cleanliness in the first century, and they were talking a lot about Mark 7 and Jodi Magness, who is a well-known archaeologist. I just thought that she's so much fun to listen to. But beyond that, she just slaughtered. This one guy was like, he gets up, he's showing, he's going through his paper. He has all these slides with these different graphs, and he's trying to show that there were more ritual baths outside of Jerusalem than there were in Jerusalem in the first century. And so he was using this as ammunition to try to say that the Jews in the first century were not doing ritual baths specifically for the temple, to go to the temple, but they were doing it out of ritual, just religious service. And so he gets done, and Jodi Magness stands up, and this guy leans more towards theology. She's obviously an archaeologist, and she just slaughtered on him. I mean, she I think without a doubt kind of made the whole room agree that there certainly were there were not more ritual baths outside of Jerusalem than there were.
And basically she said that because you're not an archaeologist, you're misinterpreting the archaeological data.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but then at the same time, what I liked about her, and she, I don't know much about her. She teaches at one of the North Carolina secular state universities, like Chapel Hill or University of North Carolina Chapel Hill. Just
to put in here, she wrote a book that we use at Torah Resource Institute.
Yeah, we use an article, a part of her book. So it's like stone and dung, spit and oil, or something like that.
Yeah, that's her
stone
book.
And oil. So, but she says, I'm not a text scholar. I'm a trained archaeologist, and she excavates. And I saw a paper that she gave on an excavation in northern Israel that she's doing. It's a synagogue that is amazing mosaic floors with elephants, and they're still excavating this. It's somewhere off near the Sea of Galilee. And she permitted no photography or anything because she says these pictures have not been published yet. But amazing archaeological work on this synagogue remains up in north. Now it's not synagogue from the first century. It's synagogue from like the third or fourth, maybe, or even later. I don't remember. But she's going to be publishing on that. So But anyway, she made the point. She says, look, I'm a trained archaeologist. I'm not a text scholar. You guys are text scholars, and you think a little bit differently than archaeology. And so that's the neat, back to this S. We have Evangelical Theological Society. Then we have the S of Society of Biblical Literature. What this is coded in that word is a professional organization where people present research to peers, mostly. Now, you don't have to be a PhD to be there. I don't have my PhD, and you don't have to have a degree. You could just be a member of the SBL and to be there, but you hear the cutting edge work of what they're doing. And then at the end of every paper, there's people raise their hand and they have that discussion. Sometimes they'll present the 3 papers and then they'll have a respondent who's already read the paper and prepared a response, and then it opens up. But the key part there is that either right after each speaker or at the end of the whole session, you will have opportunity to voice questions and to ask questions and confront, to challenge, to say, I support this, and here's something, did you think about this? And that's where we all learn. We all take away, wow, I really like that. I don't know who this guy was in the audience, but he just made a really good point. And there's been times where I've gone over afterward to say, hey, I really appreciated the question you had. Could you tell me the name of that book you mentioned? Or, there's little things like that we're able to glean from. So anyway, all that being said is we don't go to these thinking that any one scholar has perfect. But what it is they're invested. They're invested in what they're researching. They might be of the Orthodox Jewish persuasion. They might be kind of a secular Israeli. That's kind of what I get with Jodi Magness. I kind of get that she's just she's not really into the God question or theology. She's just passion.
There. Yeah, she is just there for the archaeology.
She's a passion for archaeology and history. And then you've got those who are Christian who are there, and so you get a mix. There's a strong Mormon thread there. BYU seems to have people there. There's Seventh-day Adventists have a society that meet and they talk about the Shabbat, and sometimes, or they talk about this or that. So you and then with the SBL has a parallel to the American Academy of Religion. That's where you see the Buddhist monks and other people who are studying just religion, the theory of religion, history of religion, as a global kind of phenomenon. So you get a little bit of that as well.